Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. I love our subject because we're talking about our future selves. What could you possibly be in 1 year? How could you change some things in your life that you want changed? And I just want to put this huge caveat. You are fine and beautiful and enough just the way you are right now today. Okay? Do you know that I accept and love you? Okay? But if you are like any other human on this planet, once January 1st rolls around, we start thinking about the changes that we want in our lives. Because everybody wants some kind of a change. Everybody wants to fix something or do something different or create something new. And that's what this whole thing is about. And that's why we're talking about how to create that future self that we're looking for. It's a big buzzword right now in the personal development community. But I'll tell you, I thought it was, I think it's really kind of a fun exercise, and it really gives you something to put your mind to. But, there are things we need the visual affirmation of what it's going to look like as we walk into it. We need sounds, we need things, we need people, we need reminders all around us. And like we learned last week from BJ Fogg, our behavior never changes unless our environment changes, because our environment is what holds us up. Our environment helps us to create the very change that we're looking for. And you know this. I mean, we all know this, don't we? Because we've lived it. We've seen what happens when we're constantly, around things that, maybe we just don't, maybe we just shouldn't have these things in our lives. Maybe we need to get rid of some of the sugar that's hanging around. It's not good for anybody else in your family. You can't monitor them or police them, but you know exactly what I'm saying, that there comes a time where you just have to come to your senses and take a look at, what am I eating? What am I, how is it making me feel? And is this how I want to march into 2022? Really? Is this what I want? All of these different things. But here's the thing. If you're going to create a vibrant vision of your future self, then you're going to have to start showing up as that future self. You remember we talked about that? To be, do, then you have. Those three things. Be, do, have. Before you can have it, though, you have to be it. Before you can have it, you have to do it. And while you might say, well, I don't look like an athlete, I don't feel like an athlete or whatever, just by virtue of the fact that you're going through the actions to become an athlete is enough to say, I am an athlete. Keep that in mind. When we start qualifying who we are by showing up as who we want to be, then you know what? Guess what? Even if you don't feel like it, you still qualify as it, because that's what your brain thinks, and therefore we go with what our brains think. It makes all the difference in the world. And that's what we discussed yesterday, I think, a lot. I think it's a critical point to understand that this is what we need to do. We need to show up, not just sort of, but all the way. Now, I'm going to say this. If your goal is to wear a bathing suit this summer, you don't have to go outside in a bathing suit right now. I'm not saying that. I'm not suggesting that, especially if you're like, Jenny living in Montana where it's like 0 degrees. That's not going to feel good. But, if you're going to want to wear a bathing suit, what does a girl who wears a bathing suit eat and exercise? And what does she do so she feels good in that bathing suit? She owns it. That's the whole thing. That's what we're talking about. There you go. So being, doing, having is what anyone who decides that this is what they want, that's what she needs to do. When we also add to it the emotional attachment of how this will feel. Now, I'm going to say very clearly, though, we don't emotionally attach to that exact picture. We emotionally attach to the concept of what it is. So on my board that I have from 2018 that shows the house on the water, or it's the view from the house on the water. I'd show it to you, except I'd have to get up, come back, and I'm not going to do that. But it's right under my clock. I look at it every single day. I see what it says. I see that it says flash of brilliance, transformation, all these different things, these different words that light me up. And in the corner on the left, in most taking up more of that board than any other picture or word or anything, is that picture. My house does not look, we're not overlooking such a vast lake. It's a small lake. We don't have a dock that goes way out into that water, nor do we have a great big oak tree with moss hanging over it. But what we do have is a view of the lake on the water with a dock. And that was because that picture encompassed the thought and the concept of what I wanted so deeply in my heart. That became the vision that I looked at. So I held that vision just lightly in my hands of it needing to look exactly like that. Doesn't. It just needed to represent the thing that I wanted in my life. Does that make sense? So when we take these concepts and we put them daily on repeat, we're going to find ourselves thinking about it a whole lot more. We actually plant them into our subconscious, and that's where we want them to be. Because in our subconscious brain, do you know we do 5% of our thinking in our subconscious brain? The rest of the time, we're just like blah, blah, blah. That's what we do. Or I'm sorry, we are in our subconscious brain most of the time, blah, blah, blah. That's what we're doing. And then the 5% of the time, we're not. But our subconscious brain can be programmed by hot desire and emotion. That's how our brains work. Fantastic, amazing things that they are. They work that way so that we have the ability to actually bring to life these visual pictures that we have in our head. And I know it sounds real woo-woo, but it's just the reticular activating system. This is exactly why it works the way it works. It brings into and onto your radar screen the very things that you want. So if who you are shows up in what you do and not what you say, by the way, today I want to help transform this idea of self-care and investment, which sounds like maybe a kind of a bizarre thing to put together. But I want you to see right now that one of the things that needs to be on your docket for this year, if you're to transform your life, if you're to transform or some aspect of your life, that this idea of taking time for yourself is going to translate into an investment into your future self. And that's what this is all about. Our future self can be really exciting, and we could get really into what's next. What could this be? What are the possibilities? I'm just curious. The creative ideas are coming. It's just amazing what happens as we allow ourselves to go into this place. So we talked about, do you remember yesterday how we talked about what our comfort zones were? Really virtually just traps, keeping us trapped and pinned, or rather even nailed down to the same Groundhog Day existence that we've always had. And if that's not what you want, if that's not good enough for you, if you're saying, but that is not what I want in this life, first of all, I want you to say, and give me some pinkies, okay? Promise me you're never going to say, I'm too old for that. It's too late for me. Because it's not. If you have breath in your nostrils, then you are still here on this earth, on purpose and for purpose, absolutely magnificently and wonderfully made. Why? Well, there's a reason why. There's a reason why. You are not done. You're just getting started. You are just getting started. And you remember that old cliche from whatever, I think it was the 70s or something. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. True. You can start it your first day of the rest of your life when you're in your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, or beyond, if you so choose to. If you so choose to take a look at your life with a different lens. That's why. So it requires, though, stepping outside of our comfort zones. Remember, comfort zones are merely traps to keep you stuck in a groundhog existence. And if we are going to move the needle in our lives, we're going to want to get out of those comfort zones. That's where the magic happens, not in them, outside of them, where it's uncertain, it's risky, it feels a little weird. But I'm telling you, stepping outside of your comfort zone, that's something that we just, I mean, I almost would say, go get it tattooed on your arm. You know, it's something that we all need to do. Comfort zones will never, ever take you to the place of comfort. It is an illusion. It's a facade. The place of comfort is in the place of new, in the place of trying something new. The education that you get from reading books that maybe wouldn't be something that you would read, or talking to people that maybe are from a different culture than you or country or something, and it just seems odd and weird. Change is just glorious uncertainty when you look at it that way anyway. And uncertainty doesn't have to be this scary thing, an awful thing. Uncertainty just means you just don't know what's next. And that's okay, right? That is okay. So to completely obliterate your limitations, you've got to step outside of your comfort zone, and you have to take action, and not just any action, but pointed action. Now, this was a big learning experience for me. I'm just going to share a couple of things that I have done in my life where I just flipped on its side the difference between, and I know this is going to be self-care and expenses versus investment. Okay. Because for me, self-care was all about the mani-pedi, right? Oh, there's my self-care right there. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I go get them. I enjoy them. I get my hair done. I do things like that. But to me, that's moving kind of into the place of an investment in myself, making myself feel better and making me feel groomed and taken care of. That's just part of that. Same with exercise. You know, I feel an obligation to move my body every day. I feel an obligation that if I've got muscles, I need to make them stronger so that I can keep going. I don't want somebody helping me with a 50-pound bag of dog food. I want to pick it up myself. But to take this kind of bold action that I'm talking about beyond the mani-pedi, which again, do it. If you want to call it self-care, maintenance, or whatever, call it what it is. If you're not doing it, do it. It is an investment. It's not going to be free. You're not going to walk into a salon and they're going to say, yeah, go ahead. It's free today because you're here to invest in yourself. No, you will invest in yourself, and you will put down a credit card and you will tip the people that took care of you. But, you know, maybe what you do this next time around is you say, yeah, this is my a little time off, a little care. Today, I'm going to spend an extra $10 and get this hot stone massage on my legs. Just trust me on that. You're going to want it, especially if you've got somebody good who knows what they're doing. It just feels amazing. And especially if you've been exercising and your legs feel a little sore, it feels really great. Number two, the other thing that you can do is you could start a practice of taking a bath on a nightly basis, because the nightly basis thing, taking a bath on a nightly basis, is your way of telling your body it's time to go to bed and it's time to get a good quality night's sleep. Now, I'm going to tell you this because, and you've heard me talk about this on repeat, but the very first step in health, in self-care and investment in yourself, which is time, energy, money, resources, or whatever, that's an investment, not something that just, you know, like a cheap shirt from a crummy store, but this is an investment in yourself. And when you do these kind of things, when you start taking care of yourself like that, then you start to raise the needle on what's acceptable in your life. And when you understand, raise the bar rather, of what's acceptable in your life, when you understand that being a night owl and staying up till all hours of the night and watching YouTube on repeat and whatever else that you might be doing is detrimental to your health, And it's going to take, you know, that sitters lose 15 years of their lives because they're not getting up and moving. 15 years off your life if you're a chronic sitter. And if you're chronic sitter and then you add in that maybe metabolic syndrome is playing into it, you've got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and you're either diabetic or pre-diabetic, you're getting, that's getting scary. We got to fix all of this. We got to fix all of this. So what do? We invest in ourselves. We invest in ourselves and we make sure that we are getting to bed at a decent hours. That can be step one for you. Step one, you go to bed at midnight now or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, just start knocking it back a half hour every night until you get to the place of at 10:30, you can no longer keep your eyes open. We're in bed by 10:30 every night. And it's just made a difference because the quality sleep happens between 10 and 2 a.m. That's when we do the repair work. That's an investment because it, at some point, for some people, especially if you've been a night owl, you know, it's giving that up so that you can have instead this incredible quality sleep, which is the ultimate in self-care. Add in a good mattress, add in a little lavender oil in your bath, add in all these different things and watch how everything magically starts to transform. That's because you're getting good quality sleep. It's not just a matter of getting, well, I got my 8 hours. No, you need to get the quality sleep. We have a circadian clock. We need to honor that. Okay. So that is huge. It's number one. It is an investment in yourself. And I'm going to preach that until they, you know, the cows come home. The other thing that cannot be underestimated, I just told this to Mark because he took Lincoln out for a walk around the lake, and is don't wear your sunglasses. Go get your vitamin D. It's sunny and beautiful out. It's 37 degrees, a little chilly, but it's sunny and beautiful out. And usually he just always puts on the shades. But go get your vitamin D. Get a sun bath. Get outside. And you know, when we start to notice, that's an investment in ourselves. It doesn't cost a dime. It just costs time. And you start to notice things like the branches and the new, oh, I never noticed this. Or, oh, look, all the leaves are off the trees. Look at all the nests. There's the squirrel nest. There's the bird nest. There's all these different things. And while that might not seem like an investment so much in self-care, it is because we don't get out enough. We're stuck in our homes and we're just constantly go from our house to our garage to our car. And what about if we took the time to seriously invest in a little nature bath? You know, as we get into the bathtub with our Epsom salts and lavender and how it envelops us and just takes over and just helps us to relax, we can do the same thing when we're outside in a nature walk, observing, listening, breathing deep. It's really good for you. Another 4 that I have for you, and I'm touching on all the different areas and all the different ways that we can invest in ourselves, is journaling. And get a pretty journal. Get something that lights you up. For me, I don't need something that lights me up. I just need my cheap little composition journals that I get at the dollar store, and that just makes all the difference in the world. I love a fresh journal. I love a fresh pencil and just going along and writing things down. The other thing is to designate some daily reading time. I was reading, I think it was Brendan Burchard or something yesterday, and he was talking about how he spends an hour a day on reading. And I was thinking, an hour a day? I do 20 minutes, maybe. Sometimes 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there. But I'm going to really try to put this together. And I thought, well, of course I can do this. I've got a time block sheet. I know how to block my time. And I can reorder and create an ideal day where I can get this 1 hour in. I don't have an elderly parent to take care of anymore. I don't have little children running around anymore. I have a business that's busy and that demands a lot. I've got a house, a home, a husband, it's weird to say, children, and I have all of that, but it doesn't mean that I can't possibly figure out and create the time to get that done. That's all. So An hour a day of reading? You think about it. What kind of reading are you going to do? I'll show you. Just got this in, and my daughter and I are going to read this together. Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart, new Brene Brown book. Really excited about that one. I'm going to be eating that one up shortly, and I'm going to do it with my daughter, which brings me to the next place of relationship. My connections and my relationships, they're everything. And I have to, and I've shared this before, I go out of my way with my relationships because it's easy to get disconnected. So with my children, for example, I text them often, sometimes once a day, sometimes a couple of times a day. I shared a funny video, found a funny picture, something or whatever, and just share it. Those little touches, they all add up. And it says, I've thought of you. I care about you. You mean something to me. And let me just say that means something to everyone when you do that. That's what you do. The other thing that you can do is love your puppy or your kitten or your cat or your dog or whatever. But have you noticed how it makes you feel just loving up your dog? I read the other day that when your dog's tail does a helicopter like that it's a rare occasion that dog is extremely and extraordinarily happy, loves his people, and that they only see it in 10 to 20% of dogs. My Lincoln is a helicopter tail. And so I thought about that, and I thought about how, that lights me up, and it lights me up to have this little seed of knowledge to know about this whole thing. So watching his little helicopter tail, I shared it with Mark. We'd like to see if we can get him to the place of helicopter tail. So that works. What's everybody talking about washing your hair? Okay. I washed mine in the shower, just did. All right. The other thing that I have, this is another way that you can love yourself is hiring something done. In other words, if you are the one to usually do whatever it is, a loving thing that you can do and an investment in yourself is to hire somebody to do it for you. I just did that. I hired somebody to come clean in our house. I can do it myself, and I've done it for a while, but they come every couple of weeks, a husband and wife team. And get this, I've got her hooked on beauty support. I've seen remarkable change she had, with her skin and I've just noticed, she said, I've noticed it's gotten so much better. Where is that stuff? I need it. So I gave her beauty support, and, that's part of the way I pay her. But it was so fun to watch somebody before my eyes transform using this. So pretty cool thing. But that's an investment in myself because I can take that time that I would have normally been doing other things, doing something else. I've got a lot of goals on my docket for 2022. And so if I invest in that instead of cleaning the toilets, for example, why not? Something I would normally do myself, now I have them doing. Decluttering the bathroom or decluttering something I have on my list of things to do this week is to get into our master closet. It's just kind of gone a little haywire. And there's clothes that need to be decluttered and things that need to be cleaned up. And, it feels so good to do that. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your time. And one thing I've got to do, reminding myself, buy hangers. Hangers, Leanne. You need hangers. We need hangers. So I will buy the hangers. But investing in yourself, creating and loving your home, that's a huge investment in yourself. Number 10 is to plan. Did you know that? Did you know that as you plan something out, whether it costs money or not, or whatever it is, it makes you feel good about yourself. It makes you feel good about what it is that you're doing. And let me just say this right now. Every single woman that I have seen that has hot melt sprinted is a good planner. She plans her meals, she has the food that she needs, and she goes forward with a plan every single day. Most of them target trifecta their smoothies and definitely target trifecta their plate. You don't lose 130 pounds by not and just hitting from the hip. Plan your meals, plan a vacation. You can plan your next sprint. You can plan your next week. You can plan the next 12 weeks out. So planning is fun. Planning is investment in your future and your future self, especially when you get into the weeds with your goals and with the next 12 weeks of what it is that you want. Makes all the difference in the world. Joanne, you are an excellent planner. You are an excellent planner. And you have to. You have to be a good planner, especially if your life is complicated. You have to plan out. I get my water bottles ready every night. I could do it in the morning, but I do it at night because it's one less thing that I need to do. So, excuse me. When we invest in ourselves with our time, our money, and any other resource that we might have, we're waking up the sleeping worthiness of our self-esteem is what we're doing. We're waking ourselves up and saying, you're worth this time. You're worth the investment. You're worth the money. You're worth these other resources, whatever you're spending on it. When you get into the bathtub, when you get into bed early, when you start eating really good food, that's an investment in your nutritional future. Start thinking in those terms and start thinking about, what do these investors all do? They go and they buy stock and they invest in things and they make a bunch of money. There's dividends on the other side of an investment. And there is for you too, as you do this for yourself. You are worth the time. You're worth the money. You're worth the effort because you are the investment. You are. So that's how we put, our money and whatever else where our mouths are. And it helps us to create the actions that we need in order to live that other level up. It makes all the sense in the world. So I will tell you, when I lost 70 pounds, here, I'm going to tell you my little story of an investment, something that I did. And it was just kind of it was a last minute decision that I did, but it changed everything. So I weighed, this is a long time ago, and I weighed 70 pounds more than I do now. And what I did was I went, I was like, how am I going to do this? I started on, basically it was like the sprint. It wasn't quite the sprint, but it was very close to the sprint. And I had a smoothie every morning and I'd go work out. I was like a regular, I was in my car by 7:30 every morning. And then I would go work out for an hour, and I had bar on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Zumba, baby. And then I added in some weights and all of that. But that was my exercise routine, and the food I had dialed in. It was a smoothie in the morning. It was hot milk soup, essentially, during the day with last night's leftover protein in it. That was my lunch. And then for dinner, I would have protein and some kind of green vegetable thing. That was it. Simple, easy activity, water, hydration, go to bed early. And it just worked. It wasn't hard. It was pretty easy. But it was like shampoo, rinse, repeat, shampoo, rinse, repeat, shampoo, rinse, repeat. And as I started to lose the weight, it took me a minute. It took like a month before maybe 3 or 4 pounds. It wasn't really starting to go till all of a sudden it just started to just finally let go. And I talk about that sometimes, when we're with people who have weight loss resistance, and that would be, that's exactly where I was. And it was the whoosh is what it was. It was the whoosh. And all of a sudden it happened. And I remember I lost one size of jeans. And I remember putting on those jeans and saying, oh, they fit. I got the new size jeans. They fit, but I'm not going to be in them for very long. It was just this intuitive knowing that if I keep doing what I keep on doing, it's going to be a minute where I'm going to be able to lose these jeans. And they were not cheap jeans, by the way. I bought those jeans because they fit so well. And I bought the next size down. I was $70. So all in, it was about $140. They weren't cheap, Walmart jeans. They were nicer jeans, but they fit. They fit beautifully. And do you know what I did with those jeans? When I got home, I took those investment jeans and I put the little hooks, the little hanger with the hooks like you would for your skirts, and put them right there on the waistline, put them on my door in my office so that I could look at them, so that I could see them, so that I could just know that those were my jeans. And have you seen, anybody seen Ted Lasso? It's like one of my favorite shows. It was so good on Apple TV. They had the sign "Believe," and they'd hit the "Believe" sign as they were going out to go play their soccer match. I would hit those jeans everywhere, every night on the way out of my office and say, "I'm going to be in you soon. I'm going to be wearing you soon." I touched them every time and identified with them and emoted over those investment jeans because I was letting those jeans know who is running the show here. It's me, and what I was about and what I was going to keep doing. So I'm telling you, and yeah, I got into them. I got into those jeans easily and faster than I thought I would. But I believed in that, and I believed in the investment of doing that. I remember when I told my mom, she said, "Well, wasn't that a waste of money? What if you don't like them? What if they don't fit? What if blah, 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 blah?" And I said, "Well, a smaller version of me is probably going to fit just fine in those jeans." And don't you know, they did. And then when I got into those jeans, you know what I did? I got online and I ordered the next size down. That's what I did. And that represented bold action on my part, an investment on my future. So that's what I did. And I'm telling you, this it's everything. And since I flipped my ideas on expenses versus investments, I've discovered other things too, that there's investments for everything. Heart, mind, body, and soul, that you can invest in everything. Relationships are top of my list. You can invest in them. Multiple touches a day, a picture, funny video, whatever. I've talked about that. Creating time, creating memories, creating events. One of the things that's on my list is I want to make enough money so that I can invite all the kids to go with us on a trip somewhere once a year, because I want those memories. I want that time of being together. And all they have to do is take the time off. They don't have to worry about the car rental, or they don't have to worry about airplane tickets, nothing. All they have to do is show up. That's on my list of things. That's an investment in my family and in the people that I love the most. And that's something that I want to do. Books and classes and seminars and conferences. I've invested in all of that. I am a lifetime learner. I'm always going to be a lifetime learner. As a lifetime learner, I get to improve thoughts, improve my thinking. I get to improve my knowledge base about what's what. Because I'm going to tell you right now, your knowledge base, you can't get off of YouTube. You can't get off of social media. You can't get it just from searching high and low on the internet. You can go and dig into databases like PubMed, for example, and really investigate some studies and what have you. But it behooves you to make a decision about yourself and of your future that you want to be a lifetime learner. I've invested in my own fitness. I bought a Peloton bike, expensive, and I spent months paying it off, payment at a time, one payment at a time, one payment at a time. I pay every month to have the app work. But guess what? I get to stack my workouts. I get to do them at my convenience, and I get to have all of this stuff at my disposal right next door to where I am right now today. And guess what? That is an investment in my strength, my future self, my future body, and my future well-being. Because I have found that the more I work out, the more I get up and down out of this chair and hydrate and sleep better and all of these things, and add the fitness to the equation, the better I feel, the happier I am, the better it is for everyone around me. It's huge. And that's what I have for you today. I want to invite you into this new thinking pattern of creating an investment, using your money as an investment tool for what it is that you want. You want a treadmill? Julie, go get a treadmill off of Craigslist or something. I wouldn't go out and buy a brand new, I would go buy a used one. Go do something that is for yourself, and then make a commitment that you're going to be showing up for yourself. If you're going to buy a treadmill, use a treadmill. Don't have it just become another piece of equipment. If you're going to buy a book, don't just let it sit there in your bookshelf. Take it out and read it. Actively read it. I listened to some of the good ones Audible and write notes in the margins as I currently read along if I really want to get into it. But these are the things that we can do to start creating the future self that we want to. And it's deliberate action. It's getting out of the comfort zone. It's embracing the gloriousness of uncertainty. I know that sounds completely wackadoodle, but it's not. It's not, because it's in the places of the unknown that we learn and we grow and we become. Ardently active, Darla. I love that so much. You know I do. Take some action today. Get out of your comfort zone. Embrace glorious uncertainty. And know this, that as you do, you will grow. And as you grow, you will become more of who you're meant to be. Remember, you're here on purpose and for purpose. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Peace be with you. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.